Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Howdy, y'all. This is red.olaughlin here. We're on Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And we're almost toward the end of a 6-part series. Today is number 5 out of 6, planned 6, for weight management and your health. We're talking about, what causes fat to go into a fat cell, what causes fat to come out of a fat cell, what causes fat to burn, what stops fat from burning. The questions that we really need to know if we want to look our best, but sometimes even looking our best isn't necessarily the answer. Sometimes our health is more important than just looking good. Regardless of what your reason is for wanting to add a little bit of weight, take a little bit of weight off, take a lot of weight off, we're going to go into some of the reasons why, the scientific reasons why. I research, let me go ahead and get my slideshow set up here, get that going. There we go. Next slide. Okay, I'm a researcher. I'm not a doctor, never been associated with any of the pharmaceutical industries. I fell in love with chemistry at a very young age, got a degree in it. Unfortunately, didn't practice it because I got an invitation to Vietnam. But nowadays, because of some health issues with my wife 10 years ago, I started diving into the human body at the cellular level, trying to find out the cause and effect of why things happen. This chemical causes that one to accelerate or decelerate or stop, inhibit, as the case may be. And that's what I've been trying to find. And I was able to help her with a lot of significant problems from chemo and other things. And I said, why not do this for other things? And my focus became more centered on longevity, aging. What can we do to accelerate the aging process? What can we do to slow it down? And that's where most of my writings and everything has been in recent years. If you know what the cause is and you can address the cause, you can generally fix a problem. But if you have symptoms and you're treating symptoms, you'll always be treating symptoms. When we deal with weight, everybody is individual. Somebody's hormonal balances are not going to be the same as someone else's. Their nutrient deficiencies are not going to be the same. Their emotional states. There are just so many things. Each person is so individual. So what works for this person over here is not going to work for that person over there. However, in most cases, if we take a particular aspect of our fat, weight, metabolism system and apply it, we might be able to see incremental and then gradually increasing in improvement in the areas that we want to go. As we've talked about in the past, there's so many. You go to YouTube and you look up weight loss. There are hundreds of people there telling you, hey, buy this product and you're going to lose weight. Do this and you'll lose 16 pounds in 16 hours. Whatever, it doesn't matter. There's just a lot of confusion out there. And what I want to do is take you through and say, what's really going on? In keeping with my particular commitment to everyone here, this morning I got on the scale and I'm just a little heavier than last week. Almost not much, almost a pound. Lost a total of 6 pounds since we started this evolution. And I'm not doing any change in my lifestyle whatsoever to speak of. I've kind of cut back a little bit on the late night snacks, although my wife would disagree with me, but I really have. But I'm looking at a variety of things. I'm looking at body weight going up incrementally, almost not enough to say there's an issue. Still have a problem with my body mass index, but I'm not concerned about body mass index because it's something you attribute to a population. You don't attribute it to people. But that's not the way our system works. The things that I have, what they call the excellent, super excellent range is muscle rate, muscle mass, skeletal muscle, those kinds of things, bone mass, protein, my basal metabolic rate. All of those things are really good. So a couple things that I need to be more concerned about is body age. Right now it has me listed as being about 2 years older than I currently am. And visceral fat, we're going to touch in today because that's really important. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about the subcutaneous, our body fat. So that's me, and we're going to continue to do this for at least the next week. And if we get a chance to wrap it up next week, I'd love to, but we're going to get into some specific issues next week and go from there. So everybody knows, everybody should know, most people know the general equation for losing weight. Calories in equals calories out. You eat less, you lose weight. You burn more calories with exercise, you lose weight. Well, it doesn't work, because when you say calories in equals calories out, you're depending on metabolism, which we'll find out is constant but can change, and hormones, which change all the time, and even the quality of your calorie difference and the quality of your exercise has a difference. But let's plow on here. Metabolism. Touched on it last week. I am going to show a couple slides that I showed last week to bring everybody back up to date. We have several processes in the body. One of the processes is called metabolism. In our body, we take the fuel, the food that we eat, we change it into fuel, and that fuel is what makes our bodies do what it does. And without the metabolism, we would just be a flat glob of mass without anything going on, because you need your metabolism to store the fat that you're not using, and you need your metabolism to burn the fat when you need energy. Many hormones actually influence our metabolism. Now, insulin, thyroxine, your thyroid. How many people have had thyroid problems and absolutely cannot lose weight? Be amazed. Growth hormone, leptin, we've talked about a lot. Cortisol, stress hormone. Estradiol, an estrogen component. Ghrelin, and many more. And if they're out of whack, you're going to have a problem with your metabolism, just like you're going to have a problem with gaining weight or not being able to lose weight or a number of other things. A couple of years ago in the Journal of Science, they discovered that there are actually 4 different phases of metabolism. They tested over 6,000 people, 29 countries, and they were aged from actually less than a week to over 90 years of age. And they found out that when you are born up to 1 year of age, your metabolism is running 50% greater than normal. It's 50% greater than what you are as an adult. And that's because you need that growth factor. You need everything to take you from an infant up to that 1 year old. From 1 year to 20, you have a gradual degradation each year, just a little bit, until you get 20 years of age. And then they find out, oh, now you're going to be stuck at that metabolic rate for the next 40 years, because from 20 to 60, you're burning fat, you're burning your metabolism, your metabolic rate is operating at an adult level and will not decrease until you turn 60. And then between 60 and 90, it declines a little bit, not much, maybe a 0.5% a year, almost negligible, but it does decline over time. So your metabolism is constant for most of our lives. But our metabolism, just like is influenced by the things I showed you earlier, as you get older, we just see right here, it's going to have an influence. Your gender is going to change, hormones, exercise, how much muscle you have to your fat. Lots and lots and lots of things have an effect on that. Let's get one more slide from last week. And we noticed probably in our 30s, 40s, all of a sudden we start getting that extra little package around our waist. And we say, our metabolism slowed down. Well, metabolism from 20 to 60 doesn't change. What does change is our eating habits, our lifestyle choices. A lot of things change, and we start putting weight on. That extra weight actually slows the metabolism. It's not the metabolism slowing down, allowing the weight to gain. And that's a big question. If our weight is causing our metabolism to change, I need to be able to get my metabolism back up there, or I need to lose the weight, or I need to do something. So big question, how do we lose weight? Well, as we learned earlier, lifestyle factors can balance an out of whack insulin, leptin, cortisol, just about any of the dozen hormones that we've talked about over the last couple of weeks that can create a problem with gaining weight. You want to get them into the normal level, your lifestyle choices, the things that you do on a regular, everyday basis, the exercise. Now, a lot of people may go out and run, they may jog, they may go to the gym and lift weights. You really need a little bit of everything: high intensity exercise with stretching, with walking, with running. So you need a variety of exercises. Our sleep is super, super, super critical, because sleep is where the body repairs itself. You're out exercising, you need the sleep in order to make the repairs the body needs. Stress management: if you are stressed, and almost everybody is, and not doing something about it, yeah, you may go out and exercise at the gym, but you come home and something else stresses you, and you reach out and you grab a hold of it and you don't let go. That emotional stress, the norepinephrine, the epinephrine, the cortisol, the stress hormones are going to increase your insulin levels. When insulin's present in the bloodstream, you cannot burn fat, absolutely cannot. So stress has a direct connection with your ability to burn fat. A balanced diet, if you're deficient in a particular two or three or four different nutrients, minerals, vitamins, like deficiency in vitamin B12 mimics Alzheimer's. A deficiency in vitamin B1, B3 actually gives you depression and anxiety. There are things in our diets that when we're deficient, we are unbalanced, and it causes an imbalance in our hormones and other things. The healthy fats, I'm going to touch a little bit today about that. Maintaining a healthy weight. Fiber, something that a lot of us don't think of, because if you're eating pills for your vitamins, you're not getting the fiber to go with it. Probiotics for our gut. Our gut controls more of our weight management system than people realize. Portion control. Change the size of your plate from a dinner plate to a salad plate, and don't go back for seconds. That's probably the easiest way to cut back on food at any meal, even if you're at a restaurant. Alcohol in moderation, regular health checkups, toxin removal, lots and lots of things in our lifestyle choices that we can do to balance our lives. When we address our lifestyle choices and we keep it going for literally a while, more than 30 days to actually see a change, but I'm talking about 3 solid months, 90 days, we're going to start seeing some of these hormones get back into this normal level. 6 months, you're actually going to see a major change. But the things we've talked about in the past, the insulin, leptin, ghrelin, cortisol, estrogen, testosterone, the neuropeptide Y, glucagon-like protein 1, cholecystine-kinin, CCK, polypeptide YY, PYY, adiponectin, resistin, our growth hormones, thyroid, serotonin. There are over 60 hormones in our body, and if we're out of whack on our nutrients, we're out of whack on our emotional state, we're out of whack on our exercise, these things are going to have a life of their own, and they're going to wander. And if you actually start putting on a lot of weight, that excess obese fat becomes another organ that's creating a lot of problems, serious problems. And so there are a lot of things that we can do. And so the first thing that I would recommend is assess where your lifestyle choices are. What are you doing on a regular basis? And we'll talk a little bit about that, a lot more about that next week. A couple of studies that I thought were really interesting was the fact that our really healthy fats are omega-3s and 6s. They're essential fatty acids. We don't make them. We have to get them from our food. However, too much omega-6 is inflammatory. How much is too much? Well, if you measure the amount of omega-6 to omega-3, it should be ideally 1-to-1 ratio. However, if it's greater than 4-to-1, it becomes inflammatory in the body. Inflammation is at the cellular level, chronic low-level cellular inflammation is the genesis of almost every disease. It's also the genesis of stress and so many other things. So the chronic low-level inflammation builds up as we increase our omega-6s. Almost all of the foods that we have processed and packaged and everything else, they use omega-6 as one of their binding fats. And it becomes omega-3. Your standard American diet can easily be 20-to-1, 40-to-1. And over time, that can give you a higher risk for disease. There was an Iceland study, and they found out that giving people 5 ounces of salmon 3 times a week for 8 weeks, they lost 15 pounds. They didn't do anything else. They just incorporated salmon into their diet. That's all they did. That was a very rigid study. And they said, okay, fine. I lose 15 pounds in 8 weeks. That's 2 pounds a week. And they said, okay, there's 1,500 milligrams of omega-3 in 5 ounces of salmon. So they took that result and they said, okay, what can we do to find out how much omega-3 really makes a difference? So they changed the fish to cod, and they kept the portion size at 5, and they knew that going in that omega-3 is 284 milligrams of omega-3 in 5 ounces of cod. So 3 times a week for 8 weeks, the test group ate cod. And they, at the end of that 8 weeks, they had lost 10 pounds. And so they're thinking to themselves, saying, my goodness, the omega-3 causes people to lose weight. It's a healthy fat. You're canceling out a lot of the other omega-6s because you're getting a lot of omega-3s with this particular kind of eating habit. But the thing that really and truly impressed them was the fact that at 284 milligrams of omega-3s in 5 ounces of cod, that's the same thing as 4 shrimp. It's the same thing as a number of other aspects of how much do I really need. Dr. William Li, L.I., great source of information. He has a book. I can't think of the name of it right now. I'll have to pull that out and pull that for next week because there's a couple really good gurus that I go to for this kind of information. But Dr. Li talks about this, and he was talking about whether you're using shrimp or you're using cod or you're using salmon or whatever, the amounts are in there for each one. But he's saying that that particular aspect of changing our lifestyle choices, more of that fish that has the omega-3 in it, makes a major, major difference in our health, makes a major difference in our weight. Eating. Our metabolism when we're eating is source fat. When we're fasting, in other words, we've used up all of our blood glucose, we're burning glycogen from our fat storage in our muscles. I'm starting to fast because I've been beyond what my glycogen can handle. I start burning fat. In fact, time is so key that if you take the same meal that you eat every day, maybe 3 or 4 meals, it doesn't matter, and you cram that into a 4-hour window, you don't change the amount of food you eat, you just change the time that you eat, you will lose weight because that intermittent fasting allows your body to get into a fasting mode in which fat is being burned for energy. And so that's why a lot of people with intermittent fasting have had good success with losing some weight. So fasting forces the body to get into a fat burning level. So when you get in with a ketogenic diet, you're not eating any carbs, you're eating a lot of fat. Your fat, your protein is causing your body to burn up ketones. And where are those ketones at? It's going into the fat tissues, fat cells, dragging out that fat and using it for fuel. But one of the things we have to be very, very aware of, and I mentioned this at the beginning, is visceral fat. When we think of fat, we think about that fat hanging under our arms, under our chins, around our gut, on our legs, whatever. We see that fat. It's that adipose fat. It's white fat. It's that touchy-feely, bumpy, roly-poly. That's not the fat you really need to worry about. Yes, there's a concern because that kind of fat creates hormones and does disruptive things to the body. But the visceral fat, the fat you can't see, this is the fat that actually surrounds your organs. It's inside of your body, not outside of the fat, outside of your muscle area that you can touch and feel and poke. But that visceral fat is the one that can lead to stroke and Alzheimer's, various cancers, diabetes, cardiovascular issues, pulmonary issues, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. That's when you have so much fat that the fat leaks out of the cells and actually goes into your lymphatic system. Your lymphatic system takes it to your liver to get rid of, and now all of a sudden the liver is ODing on fat, and you end up with a condition called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Very serious problem. We talked the other day about where's the first place in your body that excess fat goes. Let's say you have a normal, healthy, trim body. Well, the first place your fat starts to appear is on the back of your tongue. And as such, that back of the tongue is going to cause snoring. It's going to cause sleep apnea over time. It's not something that happens overnight, but it's something that has been diagnosed in a number of cases that the back of the tongue is where a little bit of extra fat goes. So when you're asleep at night, everything relaxes. That extra fat comes down, covers up things it's not, and you have a problem. And we know about the hormone imbalances and all the problems there. But again, changing your lifestyle a little bit can burn visceral fat just like it's going to burn regular fat. Fat is not the enemy unless there's too much of it. And again, we just said visceral fat is that's our number one. If we're going to do anything at all, let's conquer the visceral fat, because being next to the organs. Or when we're born, about the third system that the body actually makes in the process of growing is fat cells. And they're real close to your blood vessels because the fat cells need blood. And over your growth spurt from being an infant to 1 year to 20 years to 60 years, these fat cells can grow 100 times. And all they're there is to store fat. That's part of our entire architecture of how we're built. However, later in life, when we eat too much, we don't exercise, we're stressed out, a lot of things, that fat continues to grow and grow and grow. All of a sudden, I fill up all my fat cells. And you say, don't have to worry about it, I can't get any bigger. Wrong. The problem is that we have stem cells in our body, and when the fat cells are full, can't take any more, our stem cells make more fat cells. And so that's how people can get 2, 3, 4, 500 pounds overweight, because our body reacts the way it's supposed to. Oh, quick question. I think I asked the other day. No, I didn't on this show. What's the longest fast that we have recorded? We hear about people. I do a 72-hour fast once a month. Usually turns out 100, 150 hours. But the longest fast has been recorded, people not eating, is 384 days, I think. It was something that was a controlled study in the United Kingdom. And the guy was on intravenous solutions and things like that. But he lost a couple 100 pounds, or maybe more than that, I'm not sure. 300 over a year, he did not eat anything. Quantity and quality of our food really matters. Think of your car. If you think of the fuel in our body the same way as the gasoline in our car, that's our fuel. Well, our food choices create the fuel that we have. So as we're feeding our bodies the fuel it needs, the same thing, if I don't take care of my car engine and I'm allowing gunk and crap to get into the car, lower levels of the quality of gasoline, that car is not going to last 20, 30 years as it should. But you take care of it and it will. Well, even over time, we know that you pass 60, your metabolism is going to decline. If you're carrying around extra weight, your metabolism is going to decline. If you're stressed out all the time, your metabolism is going to decline. A lot of things there are going to decrease the efficiency of your metabolism. But we do have controls over that, and we're going to be talking about lifestyle choices. We could talk about things that we can improve that. But if I go like this when I'm cold, what I'm doing is I'm touching the areas in my body that I have brown fat. The brown fat are under my shoulder blades. They're in my back and my spine area, my shoulder blades, around the bottoms of my chest, my center of my chest here. Brown fat, if you look at it, think of it as being an incinerator. And if you can turn on brown fat, it's there with your white fat. It gets activated when you're cold. So if you go into a cold dip, let's say something that's 45-degree water, you go into a 45-degree swimming pool, you're going to chill out instantly. Well, your body's going to start shivering. Well, part of that shivering is that brown fat igniting white fat to create warmth in the body. However, brown fat is not like white fat. Brown fat are super thin little ribbons of fat that are in various places in our body. So if I'm shivering, that brown fat is causing my white fat to burn. And so it activates that white fat. So are there ways to say, well, I don't want to get into a 45-degree pool. Are there ways to activate my brown fat that I might be able to burn off some of this stuff? So let's go take a look. Well, it turns out that cold therapy works, but so do spicy foods, green tea, cold water fish, our cod and our salmon, ginger, turmeric, those two in particular, along with resveratrol. If you're taking ginger or turmeric or resveratrol, make sure you have some piperine, some black pepper extract in with whatever that is. Now, if you're taking it just as a regular food, add extra black pepper. That makes the curcuminoids and the gingeroids, those things more bioavailable in the body. Coffee, coconut oil, dark chocolate. Now we're talking 80% or more. Probably get by with 70%, but really talking about 80. Your basic berries, strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, nuts, leafy green vegetables. There's a lot of things that activate brown fat. So are these being incorporated in your lifestyle choices? Good question to ask. Caloric restriction, just cut back. We say cut back 500 calories a day. You're supposed to lose weight. Well, yeah, but again, we're looking at the choice of calories. Are those calories coming from proteins? Are they coming from fats? Are they coming from carbs? So the calorie restriction, yeah, it makes sense, but it also has to make sense as to what kind of calories, the quality, the type of calorie makes sense. The kind of exercise you do makes sense. So reducing your sugar and your carbs, increasing your protein, hydration, these are all things that's going to cause fat to burn more. Manage your stress, because once you get that stress up, the cortisol's out there, it's going to create insulin in the body. Now all of a sudden you have, stop, you're going to stop everything because of that insulin. So controlling your stress is a major portion of losing weight. Being able to have fiber get down there into your gut where you can stabilize your gut, have a really good gut biome. Avoiding trans fat, avoiding ultra processed foods. We've talked about not so much on the trans fats, but really on the ultra processed foods. That's really and truly how the fat obesity in that obeseness in America started back in the late 70s. If we have a hormone imbalance, we can't burn as much fat as we want. So we need to get our hormones balanced. Well, part of the problem in that is that sometimes we end up with that little strip of extra 4 or 5 pounds, that extra inch or two of fat around our gut. Just can't get rid of it, no matter what we do. Well, you may be doing everything right. You may be having some balance in your hormones, but there's still an imbalance and we don't know why it's coming from. Well, there's an enzyme called aromatase. Aromatase actually changes testosterone into either estradiol, androstenedione, or estrone. These are the 3 estrogen hormones, and it creates an imbalance. And when that imbalance between the testosterone and the estrogen occur, now a byproduct of that aromatase is fat, because you no longer have a balance between your testosterone and your estrogen. Whether you're male or female, you need a balance between the two. There are some natural aromatase inhibitors that will decrease estrogen and increase testosterone. Vitamin C, white button mushrooms, indole-3-carbinol, I3C. Now, indole-3-carbinol is an estrogen inhibitor. My wife was going on her post chemo breast cancer treatments, and they were giving her a Ribodex, I think was the name of the drug. It's supposed to be if I have the right one, it's an estrogen inhibitor. But part of the problem was she couldn't stand the side effects from it. Terrible. And the whole purpose of taking that particular pill was to decrease the amount of estrogen, because the breast cancer that she had was an estrogen positive cancer. So indole-3-carbinol you can buy in pill form. It's found in your cruciferous vegetables, your broccoli, your cauliflower, and those kinds of Brussels sprouts, those kinds of foods. So your indole-3-carbinol, we switched over, and she was taking 1 pill in the morning, 1 pill at night. And every time she visited her oncologist, all of her vitals were fine, all of her blood tests were fine. Everything worked out fine. She just had her 10-year checkup, I think, almost with her surgeon. Everything's still fine. But the indole-3-carbinol is a natural estrogen inhibitor. So if you have a problem with those extra few little pounds, an aromatase inhibitor might work, whether it's white mushroom mushrooms or what I also had there, chrysin, apogene, genistein, and daidzein. Those other ones are available online. Look them up. Some, I think the last 2 deal with more soy products, but they're available. They're natural. You can get them in a store. But I prefer to try to get most of my stuff by natural means. But if you have to use a pill, those are options you have. Our basal metabolic rate, that is our BMR. That's what regulates how fast, how much, how slow our fat actually burns. So when I look at the kinds of things, what really and truly influences, well, we know that our stress does, because cortisol and adrenaline actually increase the level of insulin in the body. And when we have that, stops our fat burning. In the tracks, dead end. Alcohol. Say moderation of alcohol, but you want your BMR to be a little bit better, stop. If you absolutely have a glass, maybe cut the glass in half. It's like having that piece of pie. Take one bite, let the rest of it sit. Sometimes we can become sated just by having our taste buds taste something, but we don't need that extra third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth helping. We just need that one time. And part of that's our mental challenge. Okay, I'm going to have a piece of pie. I'm just going to have that one a cookie, one bite of a brownie. Sometimes that's all we need is just that one little smidgen of whatever. And so maybe all I need is 1 ounce, ounce and a half of alcohol, and I sip that 1 ounce. It doesn't matter. I want to reduce, eliminate as much as I can. Some kinds of prescription drugs, antidepressants, antipsychotics, and some other ones will actually have a problem with your ability of your basal metabolic rate to remain at a high level. So you on an antidepressant, your BMR is going to go down. So if you had that extra little gut there and you're on some kind of heart medication, some kind of antidepressant, talk to your pharmacist. Find out, is this drug affecting my ability to burn fat, affecting my basal metabolic rate, my BMR? There's some genes out there that also have a problem. I listed 4 of them. There's more than that, but the FTO and the PPARG, ADRB2, and the FKDP5. All of those, again, if you're maintaining a good lifestyle, those are all going to be in the norm because you have genetics, which are these genes. They get turned on like a light switch, on or off. But what turns them on or off are, generally speaking, your lifestyle choices. If you're stressed out all the time, if your nutrition is imbalanced, your hormones are out of whack, you're overweight, all of these things affect that light switch of being able to turn on or off. So your lifestyle choices are basically epigenetics. That's the thing that turns the light switch off or on to be in the norm to maintain a good, healthy body. But there's just a lot of those things that affect it. So you make a change on one and you say, well, okay, fine, that's fine. Anyway, we have insulin, as we know, we talked about this before, but some of the things we can do to change our insulin sensitivity, you give up eating sugars for a period of time. And I'm talking about months. I was on Atkins back in the mid-90s. I read 5 different books on it. I said, okay, I don't have a problem. I'm going to try this out. And I started an Atkins. I loved it. I thought it was probably the best thing out there between my cheese omelets and double cheeseburgers and everything else I was eating. No carb. I was on 10 grams of carbs or less a day, and most of the time on literally 5 or 6, maybe. I just was not eating any carbs. And boom, weight fell off, inches fell off, felt good, slept well, no problems at all. The only thing I couldn't do that I was able to do previous to that was the fact that I could go out and run for an hour, hour and a half, 10 miles without a problem, no problems. I would be on the Atkins diet and I'd get a mile into a run and I would be out of gas before I could get to 2 miles. My muscles to support that. Now, I've talked to people on ketogenic diets and I said, this is a problem I had when I was basically on keto. And they said, well, the body can adapt, but it doesn't happen overnight. Well, I've never got to a point because I never pushed that envelope to start using fat to make my body run that 5 or 10 miles that I used to run on a fairly regular basis. But when you start losing that fat, it's depending on how you lose it. And I've gone back and I've looked at 3 additional new books on Atkins. And part of the problem with Atkins is the fact that it's not the fact that you're off of carbs, you're not eating the right kinds of foods. I was eating proteins and fats. They're acidic as far as the body's concerned. If I were eating veggies and fruits, my body would have an alkaline balance to it. Well, after I got out of the military in the late 90s, I had my very first bone density test. I was osteopenia. I was shocked. I've been lifting weights for decades. I've been running forever. And I figured I had some of the strongest bones around. As I researched it, I found out that to get calcium to my bones, I need calcium, but it has to be in an absorbable form. I need magnesium. Again, most people deficient on both of those. It gets into the stomach. It's available, comes out of the stomach, goes through the duodenum. If you have enough vitamin D3, you will actually get calcium into the bloodstream, but it's either going to go to your bones if you have enough vitamin K2, or it's going to go to your heart valves and arteries where you don't want the extra plaque. But once it gets into the bones, if you don't keep an alkaline body with more fruits and vegetables and your proteins, fats, and carbs, then your body is going to have a pH less than 7.4. Your bloodstream is going to reach in and grab calcium molecules out of your bones in order to maintain a proper pH in order for you to be healthy. So these are things I learned long after the fact. I was not aware of them. But depending on how you do, if you're on a ketogenic diet, you ought to be having a lot of leafy green vegetables, colored fruits and vegetables. Your fruits and vegetables are super critical. Buy some pH paper. Just touch it to your tongue. Find out what your pH is a couple times a day. Eat more or cut back on some of the other stuff in order to get yourself above that 7.4 pH range. That's super critical. But some of the other things that we can do to address the issues of our sensitivity to insulin, or insulin sensitivity, is that chromium. Decades ago, before World War II, doctors knew that a gestational diabetes could be corrected most of the time with adding chromium to the mother's diet. The fetus was taking the mother's chromium. The deficiency in chromium was causing diabetes, and it was correctable. Well, after World War II, everybody forgot about chromium. I've told several people in part of my speeches I do in front of people, I said, talk to your doctor about adding chromium and vitamin D3. And I've had a couple of people, actually more than a couple, come back and say, I added chromium, boom. I'm on half of my insulin. Things have improved tremendously. So chromium is a big, big, big deal on your insulin sensitivity. Vitamin K, primarily, you have several different monoquinones, what they call MK4, MK7, in your vitamin K. Well, monoquinone 4, that's the one that's the workhorse. It's the one that's working, from the minute you take it. The MK7 is one that's kind of holding its own throughout the day. But vitamin K is super critical. Also super critical for getting that calcium into your bones. The polymethoxylated flavones. This comes from your citrus, your grapefruit, your oranges, nectar. All of the different kinds of citrus fruits have these PMFs, and they help significantly on rebalancing the sensitivity of your insulin. Alpha lipoic acid, ALA. Curcumin, again, make sure there's black pepper extract, piperine, with that in order to get that curcumin into the bloodstream and down to the cells it needs to go to. Without that, it's 3 or 4 or 5% effective. You increase it by literally almost 1,000%. Magnesium, again, you do about 300 different operations in the body on a daily basis, and some very unique chemicals, vanadium and others. So these all help with our insulin sensitivity. And with that, I'm going to call it quits. We're almost at the end of our segment today. I can be reached at red.olaughlin.com or red.olaughlin@gmail.com. One of the books I have here is No Matter What You Can Do It. It talks about your subconscious brain, the thing that controls 95% of everything you're doing. Why you do what you do is because of your subconscious mind. And there are ways to talk to your subconscious mind and be able to make changes in your life. If you failed at a diet every single time you've tried it, maybe you need to change your mindset. What is going on with the word diet? And there are ways to do things. The Joy of Ageless Health talks about the primary causes of disease: your stress, your toxins, your radiation, your infections, inflammation, diet, etc., and what you can do about each one of them. Longevity Secrets for Healthy Aging talks about the causes of aging, 2 primary ones, and what you can do to accelerate or decelerate the aging process. A couple of months ago, I came out with Understanding the Causes of Alzheimer's Disease. I'd written over 40 articles on Alzheimer's over the course of the last few years, and I just put them in as a compilation. And then my latest one is the Essential New Author's Guide. It is, in a nutshell, how to write and publish a book for free. And I go into detail in there to what I tell my clients so they can actually literally write and publish a book for no money out of their pocket. It's just their time. So all the tricks of the trade are in there. Sometimes you don't want to do them. You want to pay somebody to do something. But if you're really interested in doing that, that book's available. With that, I am going to sign off and say join me next week on Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And I look forward to seeing you then. Take care, y'all.